Abibi Fahodier, Black Family, Hotep, Race First. Who out there? Hotep, Race First. Yeah, I try to stick with my word. I said I was going to come back today, do this live on Instagram and pick up where I left off at yesterday. I know it's not easy for me to stay on here as consistent. Abibi Fahodier, all day long. That's what it's about. Race First. See, I'm rocking the shirt, Race First shirt today. We got to stay on our game, and we have to stay on our mission at all costs. So, yes, bring your family on here. Bring your friends on here. Share this video. Let's get everybody in here. Let's get with this message today. Excuse me. Today I'm going live from my study space where I spend a significant amount of time in this study space. But what I wanted to talk about today real briefly, two things actually. So the first thing I want to talk about obedient and obedience. And the reason why I wanted to address obedience is because many of us do not know that obedience is a spiritual principle. And by obedience, I don't mean slavish or slavish. I don't mean that. I'm not telling you to be obedience doesn't mean that you have to lessen yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to reduce yourself. It doesn't mean any of that. But obedience is the ability to listen to humble yourself to, and to respond to your innermost spirit. And sometimes that requires us to be in alignment with other people in some instances. But in most cases, listen to your spirit. Be obedient to your own calling. Oftentimes, we abort the process, which we know is our process because we was called to it. We resonated with that process. It called us to this process. But we oftentimes abort because we are concerned with how we are being perceived by other people who are not inside of any type of process. We allow them to be this overwhelming influence in our lives in a very indirect way that causes us to abort a process. Be obedient. So that's the reason why I said I was going to come back today, because I wanted to be obedient to spirit, because spirit, ancestral spirit, have been moving me in the direction that I'm going in to deliver the messages that I've been delivering. To be obedient, to be humble to it. To be humble. I'm not here to buck against, what I'm being called to do. I'm not bucking against it. I'm not going to buck the ancestors. If the ancestors put me in the space of specific elders, then I'm not bucking those elders. If they're not, being disrespectful to me or nothing to that degree, I'm not bucking them. It is what it is, because this is the space that the ancestors have moved me into. The ancestors move us into spaces for particular reasons. And if you're moved into that space, you humble yourself. The ability to humble yourself is what allows you to do what? To be obedient to your spirit. Because we must be obedient to our own spirit. Obedience has nothing to do with you being a slave or a flunky. We're not dealing with that. That's niggerism. That's niggerism. And we need to know when to leave niggerism outside. You can't keep bringing niggerism everywhere you go. Leave it outside. We want to bring niggerism inside the organizations. We want to bring niggerism inside our relationships. We want to bring niggerism inside our spiritual practices. Leave niggerism outside so you can grow. So you can grow. Allow yourself to be moved into the space in the place amongst the people you need to be around so your spirit can be fed, because everything that's alive need to eat. And spirit is alive. Everything that's alive needs nourishment. And spirit is alive. It requires spiritual nourishment. Be obedient to spirit. If it moves you, be obedient. If it calls you, be obedient. If it urges you, be obedient. If it nudges you, be obedient. Because we have a process that we must fulfill while we are here in the physical realm. We have a process. And a part of that process is we must perfect ourselves. I don't care what the Europeans have told us about. There is no such thing as perfectibility. That is a lie. You can perfect yourself. You can perfect yourself. And by perfection, I do not mean that one will not make a mistake. See, we think that making a mistake qualifies us to say that we can't be perfected. And so therefore, we no longer strive for perfection. That's not African. African people have strived for perfection. Why do you think they got all those pyramids in Africa? Why do you think all those pyramids? And go look at the pyramids. And if as you move up the Nile, you'll see the pyramids getting more perfected as you move up. Because our ancestors were seeking perfection. They didn't keep it at one level. They kept evolving on those pyramids. And that's what we are supposed to do. Keep evolving on who you are. Because as a human being, a divine being, you can perpetually evolve. You can perpetually evolve. There's no limitations to what you and I can do. But I need for us to understand that obedience is a spiritual principle. It's a spiritual principle. To exercise obedience, one must be in alignment and accord with his or her own spirit. See, you will struggle with obedience if you lack self-security. If you're insecure with yourself, you're going to struggle in the areas of being obedient, because you want to keep on thinking about the niggerism that tells you that obedience means that you will flunk, you're a follower. And so you're going to do everything in your power to prove that you're not a flunky or a follower, and wreck and ruin your process. So that's the reason why I tell us that, when we insecure, we ruin things. See, there's nothing good about being insecure. Nothing good about it. Now, I'm not saying that people don't struggle with insecurities. We do. But it's our responsibility to strengthen in every area that we're insecure in. Everything in existence requires security. It requires security. All healthy things and valuable and great things require security. Even you and I. So if you are insecure in a particular area, it's your duty, it's your responsibility to strive, to do all that you must do to transform that insecurity into a security. It's hard to be spiritual and you're insecure. It's hard to be spiritual and you're insecure. Insecurity has to go out the window. Because spirituality is courageous. Spirituality is audacious. Spirituality is to stand in the face of opposition. That's what it means, because you understand, when you are truly spiritual, you understand your connection with all things in existence. You understand your connection with the ultimate source that gave birth to you. And so since you clearly understand that connection, you're not afraid of anything when you're spiritual. So there's no such thing as fearful spiritual people. If you encounter a person that tells you that he or she is spiritual, yet they have fears in the sense that they are afraid, cowardice. I mean, in that context, cowardice and spirituality does not mix. They do not mix. But obedience is the way. Obedience is the way. The sun, the moon, and the stars are obedient to Oludumare. They are obedient to Chukwu. They are obedient to Anyamwe. They are obedient to Ama. They're not bucking. If you observe the sun, you will see that the sun behaves consistently. The same. Excuse me. If you watch the moon and you observe it, the moon is consistent in its behaviors. Everything in nature is consistent. Everything in nature is consistent in its behavior and performance. It allows nature to be as it is. Everything in nature is obedient. So why shouldn't we be obedient? Because white people have told us that we are not a part of nature. So when we think about nature, we think it's something separate from us. The same way we think about space, we say outer space, as if it's separate and detached from us. Because this is how white people perceive the world. They don't see themselves as being a part of it, so therefore their concepts are detached. And so therefore we have taken in their ideals as it relates to nature. So therefore we see ourselves as being detached. No, we are in fact a part of nature. If all other things in nature are obedient to the laws and the rules of nature, then why you think that you and I should not be obedient? And because of this disobedience, we see a lot of the chaos that's taking place in our lives, a lot of the disorder, a lot of the failures, because we're disobedient. Because we're disobedient. Because we misunderstand obedience. We misunderstand obedience. We think obedience means flunky, follower, slave. It doesn't mean any of that. It means to be humble. To be obedient is to be humble. That's what it means. You humble yourself. Now, granted, if a person is trying to overrun you, I'm not even going to go there, because my energy is not even about that. So I'm not even going to make that distinction, because we got to get out of that habit of always making a distinction. We need to know when we're dealing with divine people in divine situations. We need to know that instinctively. There's no need to consistently always explain, well, I'm not talking about, no, we got to get better than that. So I'm not even going to go there, but I'm telling you this right here, right? This is what I know from direct experience. We must be obedient to our ancestors. Our ancestral way have been laid down for us. We must be obedient to it. We must be obedient to Ma'at. And I'm going to tell you why we must be obedient to Ma'at. Because Ma'at deals with order. Order is the way of the spiritual world and the natural world. Everything within the spiritual world and within the natural world is in perfect order. Disorder is evil. Disorder is evil. Understand what I mean? We're not dealing with this malevolent entity. You know, we're not coming from no Christian, Judeo-Christian, Islamic perspective. I'm coming specifically to you from an African point of view. All right. See, disorder is evil, right? Because it disrupts the natural processes that allows for the spiritual evolution and the perpetuation and the continuity of African people, African ancestors, the cosmology. It has to be ordered. Anything that disrupts that is evil. That disruption displeases. That disruption sets the ancestors off. And we have to guard against that disruption. We should not take part in any capacity with disturbing the order, the natural way that we ought to be, knowingly or unknowingly. So as I conclude this brief message, I want each of you, if you can, share this video, send it to your friend, send it to your loved ones, whoever, because I believe that they would benefit from it. The messages that I bring come specifically from the ancestors for us. So I'm just a portal. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a conduit for something to come through to you. But be obedient. Be obedient within whatever space you are moved into. If the ancestors have moved you into a space, if they have moved you in alignment with specific people, elders, Mwalimus, Jegnas, whatever you want, whatever title, that we choose to identify with, if we have been moved into that space, then be obedient to that space. Because there's a reason why you have been placed in close proximity to that vessel. Yeah, keep that in mind. There's a reason why you have been placed into close proximity with that vessel. What I mean by that vessel, I'm talking about that particular Mwalimu, that particular Baba or Mama, that particular Jegna. There's a reason why you have been placed in that space with that person. Be obedient, black man and black woman, and watch your life change. And watch things get better for you. Learn obedience. Be secure with being black. Be secure with your femininity. Be secure with your masculinity. Love who you are. Don't seek to be anything other than who you are. Be the black man that you were destined to be. Be the black woman you were destined to be. Don't look outside of yourself for anything that you came to the world with. Understand what I'm saying? You, me, us, we came to the world with all that we need. To be all that we need to be for one another. Because at the end of the day, we still need one another. So be obedient, black man. I love you. Hotep, BB for Hodier, and race first always. See y'all this shit, 2022. August 27, 2022. The National Race First Rally. Right now we on task, man. We got 11 cities on board. We going for 15 this year, y'all. We did 7 this past August. August 21, we was at 7 cities with the National Race First Rally. We shooting for 15 for August 22. If you know someone, if you out there, you trying to be a part of the Race First Rally, Race First movement, please inbox me on Instagram or Facebook. Let's get it on. Let's do what we got to do. Let's get organized. But part of being organized, we must be humble. We must be very humble. Because that's what keeps us from clashing. The lack of humility. So be obedient. Let obedient be the words for today. Peace and blessings.